The question is, if you're born into a relatively C15 deficient world, is that contributing to some of the increased issues we're seeing in younger adults, and now even translating to kids, not just cognitive and mood conditions, but also things like hypertension is now shockingly high in kids independent of body weight, right? So we're just seeing this rise, and then when you look at people in their 30s, a rise in colorectal cancer, a rise in type 2 diabetes, a rise in fatty liver disease, and coronary heart disease. It's like, what is going on?
Welcome to Biohacking with Brittany, the podcast where science meets wisdom. I'm Brittany Ford, holistic nutritionist, biohacker, and mom. And for years, I struggled with gut issues, hormonal imbalances, and the exhaustion of motherhood while running a business. Biohacking and functional medicine became my way back to clarity, vitality, and trust in my body. And that's why I'm here, not just to share information, but to share the practices and perspectives that truly shifted my health and my life. Each week, I bring you science-backed tools, honest conversations, and rituals I live myself so you can return to your own body's wisdom and create longevity on your own terms. Because your body already knows this is just the space to remember. Hello, and welcome back to the show. I am so excited that you are listening today. I had the honor of having Stephanie Venn-Watson back on the show for the third time, I think. She is the co-founder and the CEO of Fatty 15 and is an absolute joy every single time I have her on the show. We got to sit down and actually talk about pregnancy, postpartum, and baby health, specifically brain health, and essential fatty acids and the role that they play in the development of kids. This was a super, super fascinating topic, very relevant in my life right now as I now have a toddler. And we talk about the success of Fatty 15, which is the C15 essential fatty acid that was recently discovered. So Stephanie is just a wealth of knowledge. It was awesome talking to her again. And she breaks down how C15 works as a odd chain saturated fatty acid and how it's in like trace levels in whole fat dairy, which we're not really eating anymore, and why it's so important that all of us are really increasing our C15 amount. So we talk about this, we talk about the roles of omega-3 and omega-6 and what do those mean? And does C15 replace those, or should we be taking both of them at the same time? So interesting. What's also really cool is Fatty 15 just got approved to actually give C15, their supplement, to kids starting at the age of 1 now. The last time we spoke, it was actually the age of 4. And it has been approved for pregnancy and postpartum. And I get so many messages on Instagram about that of like, can I take this while pregnant? Can I take this while breastfeeding? And the answer is yes. And the answer is yes, I did that myself. So definitely take a look at this. I think this is something that is not talked about enough. And what's so cool to see that's coming down the pipeline is C15 actually being added to baby formula, fortified foods, and other places like that, so that we actually, I think it's becoming more mainstream, and we realize as a society, like, there's not just 2 essential fatty acids, omega-3 and omega-6. There's way more, and this is one of them that we are lacking in society now due to our diet. So super interesting conversation. I highly suggest if you are anywhere on the motherhood trajectory, fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, even later into motherhood. Honestly, everybody should be on Fatty 15, in my opinion. You could put your kids on it. And we talk about this in the show of like opening the capsule, adding it to a smoothie, super easy. And I think it will make a big difference. Brain health is so, so important right now. So many people are struggling with like dementia, Alzheimer's, but even like cognitive development for children in terms of behavioral issues, learning struggles, and things like that. So it cannot be overlooked of how important fatty acids are for the brain. The brain is mostly made out of fat, right? So we really need to be giving it the right fat in order for it to optimize or like optimally function. So check out Fatty 15, use my discount code BIOHACKINGBRITTANY. I know you guys really love this supplement. I literally have been on it, I don't even know, 2 years, maybe 2.5 years now, something like that. So check that out. And a shout out to my retreat. I am so excited to be able to sit down with the women who've joined so far and do our welcome calls and meet them face to face on Zoom. Guys, it's literally like the highlight of my week. Makes me smile from like ear to ear because I get to see your faces and I get to say hello. So nice to meet you. There are still spots available if you want to join my retreat in Costa Rica in March 2nd to the 7th. This is for women only. And this is a place where we are going to thrive. And I don't want to say it's way more than just like yoga and green juice for a week. It's honestly a life reset. It's a time to step back and reevaluate what is working in your life and what isn't working. And really take a look at your health as well. And we're going to do all the cool biohacking things for sure, but we're going to do a lot more than that. We're going to do a lot of working on your mental health, connecting with your inner self and your intuition. And where is that right now? What's kind of hanging in the back of your mind or on your shoulders that you haven't actually healed from yet or you haven't done anything about? So those are the types of things that we're going to be doing. And of course, we're going to do the cool stuff. Like we're doing a cacao ceremony. We're going to do a full moon ceremony. We are doing like a functional movement class, a digital detox massage. There's the place that I'm doing it at has like exosomes. So you can like go to the spa and do exosomes if you want, because they're legal in Costa Rica. It has all the biohacking and longevity practices and tech you're looking for. But it's so much more than that because it's just a space for women to come and be with themselves and like be grounded and honestly like elevate their lives from there on out. So I'm so excited about that. Please come and join me in Costa Rica. There's still some spots open. It will be closing pretty soon. And I'm excited for you to listen to this episode. Oh, and a shout out to Callow Curb. I know I got a bunch of feedback from our episode that we just did a couple of weeks ago with the founder, Sarah. And I just want to really shout out Callow Curb because it is such a cool supplement. It is a appetite suppressant that is all natural and works in rhythm with your body's appetite hormones. And so it's not like something like Ozempic, which just suppresses your appetite around the clock 24/7. You actually take this before meals and it helps you to eat less. And so for people who are looking for a natural, easier way to lose weight, this is amazing for you. On top of course, like the lifestyle habits. But when we're looking at adults, with 70% of adults now obese, this is something that's really needed in our society. I like it. There's no side effects. It's all natural. You don't get addicted to it. And I just think it's incredible. And so my mom has been taking it and she's lost 8 pounds in I think 2.5, 3 weeks. And she's so excited about it because she's just simply eating less at her meal. She's not as hungry, but she's not fatigued either, And so I'm just really happy for her because this is something that she's really excited about as well. So if weight loss is on your mind right now and you are looking to shed whatever pounds you want in a very natural, holistic way on top of a healthy lifestyle and, exercise, nutrition, and sleep, those types of things, this is definitely for you. Check out Callow Curb. That's spelled CALOCURB. And you can get 10% off using my link, which I really recommend. And let me know what you think. Dr. Stephanie, welcome back to the show. I think this is your 3rd episode.
Amazing. Brittany, it's great to be here. The science keeps coming. So we have a lot to talk about.
I know. I actually saw in your newsletter, I think it was this week, on the latest research in terms of C15 in baby formula versus what we're kind of seeing in breast milk. Maybe that's a good place for us to kind of pick up the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've talked a lot about C15 as it's, newly discovered, first discovered essential fatty acid in over 90 years. All of this exciting science emerging. It's getting revalidated by external teams, which is really important. And one of the key things about an essential fatty acid, right, Brittany, as we've discussed, is we focused a lot of our work on the older years, but now it's increasingly understood of its importance in our youngest years. So
Mhm,
from pregnancy through all the way through childhood. So this latest study that came out was been there've been a couple groups that have looked at C15 sources for babies because we now know that the more C15 baby gets from mom, so the more C15 mom gets, the more baby gets, and the more baby gets, the better that baby's body growth, head circumference, and cognitive development. So
mhm,
because of that, there have been studies looking at sources for C15 for infants, and breast milk is the best source for C15 as long as mom isn't C15 deficient. So she has to have her C15 levels adequate. And then, of course, there's look at infant formula. And a lot of studies are showing that most infant formulas have negligible amounts of C15. So the best proxy for infant studies are actually piglets, and so piglets have stomachs that are a lot like infants, and they have sow's milk. We've all seen the adorable pictures of piglets with on mom getting their milk. And what the study looked at was that if piglets are getting their milk from mom, they do great. They grow, they thrive. If they get a milk replacement, they have gut issues and they don't grow as well. So what this study did was they had three groups. The first group of piglets got sow's milk. And then the second group got just milk replacement, and the third group got milk replacement supplemented with C15. And what it showed was that C15 was able to get the piglets to basically match the healthy growth of as if they were fed sow's milk. And they did some really fascinating work looking at their gut health of the piglets were very healthy. And they also had improved mitochondrial function. We talk about mitochondrial function in our older years, we've been able to show that C15 helps boost and support mitochondrial functions, the powerhouses of our cells. And this is showing that even at the level of at the earliest years or days in the little ones. So a really important study. So of course, then the call to action was understanding the need to get C15 in infant formulas, for humans.
yeah. Wow, that's incredible. And it's just really exciting to see so much new research continuing to come out about this, because I still feel like not a lot of people even understand what C15 is. Like, it still feels very, like, not mainstream. Would you say that, or do you think it is mainstream now?
Oh, no, you're completely right, Brittany. I think if you ask 10 people, 9, if not 10, might say what's what's C15, not in your world anymore because we've had some
Yeah,
great conversations
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
But, there's still you're right, there's just, like, probably once every week to 2 weeks, there's a new study coming out on C15, and a lot of this is because people were sitting on the data, or these are relatively easy studies to do,
Mm,
and all these researchers around the world needed to do was like, "Oh, well, let me see what it does with regard to metabolic health. Let me see what it does with gut health," and they're just then taking C15 and doing studies and finding results, so it's really this
yeah.
very exciting time for lots of C15 studies, and it's
So
still
cool.
new. These
Yeah.
these conversations are great at being able to stay up to speed.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious, when you talk about, breast milk versus formula in infants, what age are you talking infants? Are we talking, like, 0 to 12 months? Or are we going a bit further now? Because a lot of people do extended breastfeeding to, like, up to 2 years or even further.
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are limited there are studies, but they're limited. So the ones that are in humans are the biggest. There have been three. There's been one in China, one in Australia, and then one in France. And where they have followed mom and baby cohorts, they call them pairs, and from the third trimester of pregnancy all the way through now. I think the eating cohort study in France is up to, I think they're up to 6 years old, the
Mm.
kids. So they do monitor breastfeeding. Most of those do that 12-month period. So if moms breastfeed for 12 months, we get to see these benefits. And I think it's gonna take some time to have a big enough number to say if, when's that critical threshold? Is it 6 months? Is it 18 months? But
Mhm.
getting that, we know that babies need to get about 100 milligrams of C15, which they get through in most cases, can get through mom's milk.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because my baby's 13 months, and so we're still breastfeeding, and I've been thinking like, when do I start to wean him off? Like, what does that look like? Obviously, some babies naturally wean off by themselves. And I saw this video. Now, I actually don't know how true it is, but it was someone saying online, I think it was a doctor, um, saying that around 18 months, if mom is still breastfeeding without adequate nutrient supply for her, the body will actually strip the brain of essential fats to prioritize breastfeeding. So breastfeeding always comes first for mom, not her own health. And so then I was thinking, okay, so I have to make sure that I'm really getting my fatty 15 and my omegas and everything else so that I'm not stripping my brain and potentially getting into some sort of depletion just to be able to breastfeed my baby.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it makes complete sense with regard to exactly that. That evolution will makes it so so the baby gets dibs on nutrients, and to the point where mom could become nutritionally deprived. So it's a really good point that moms just need to make sure they have to be extra. We're already extra careful, right, when during pregnancy,
Hmm.
post pregnancy, but like you said, with extended breastfeeding of making sure that those, you stay nutritionally robust.
Hmm. Let's be real. Weight loss is on everyone's mind right now. Ozempic and other injectables are everywhere. But what if there was a way to support your body's natural appetite control without these drugs, needles, or side effects? And that's exactly what CaloCurb does. It's 100% plant based supplement that helps activate your body's satiety signals. So you actually feel full sooner, snack less, and naturally support weight loss. It's like giving your body a reset button. So instead of fighting cravings all day, you actually feel like you're in control again. And here's the best part, it's simple, safe, and sustainable. For me, CaloCurb has been such a game changer in calming my appetite when I have used it, and also just helping me trust my body again. My mom has been using it and has actually lost 8 pounds in 3 weeks. And she's so excited about that because it's such a natural and easy thing for her to do without looking to something like Ozempic or something much more extreme or yo yo dieting or anything like that. So if you are curious and this is something that you think could be helpful in your life, or you have somebody you know who could really benefit from this, I think we all kind of have that person. You can try it and you can get 10% off with my link, which is in the show notes. Think of it as a healthier, natural or alternative to Ozempic or even Wegovy, one that works with your body and not against it. You can also message me on Instagram at BioHackingBrittany if you want my link to save or you have any other questions about it. And then if there is, like, say I weaned off my baby and he becomes into like toddler years soon, I mean, is there a way that I can give him C15, like through food, kind of? Or would you actually recommend like opening your capsule and like adding it directly to a smoothie?
Yeah, that would be it. So we just went through, we've always done the highest levels of safety standards, so science and safety. And
Right.
we just recently went through a whole re-review with a panel of experts with regard to appropriate doses and times for fatty 15 for C15 supplementation. And because of all of these studies that have come out, Brittany, with regard to not only is it safe, but C15 is supporting evidence that C15 is supporting healthy pregnancy and healthy infants and healthy babies. Because of that, the allowance for the safety for fatty 15 has extended not only beyond supporting healthy pregnancy and okay for moms who are nursing, but for approved for babies starting at the age of 1 and up. Previously, it was 4. But now we're realizing we can have an opportunity to fill that nutritional gap. And you're right, you can open the capsule and just have mix the powder in
Oh,
with any of those delicious foods that
yeah.
they start to get.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, and that's such an easy way to do it. I'm a little skeptical of, like, giving him any supplements at all right now. I would do Fatty 15 though, just because I know you guys so well and I understand it, but when I see, like, the gummy supplements for toddlers and kids, and it's like a multivitamin, I'm just like, "Why does he need that?" Like, shouldn't his food have enough in it? And even my breast milk as well, like, but still, um, and then people ask me online as well, like, "Hey, what do you recommend for, like, a two-year-old?" And I'm just like, "Are we at a point where we really need to be supplementing for a two-year-old?" I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think it's
Mhm.
there are some places where we're even starting to see like vitamin C deficiencies, like scurvy is making a comeback. And it's like, what? This was like
Wow.
pirates. This was like back in the day of pirates. And so it's the first question is, are they getting it from their food sources? So first from right breast milk, but then secondarily it's the food sources that then when they start eating, are they getting the right nutritional balance? And if so, then no, they don't, they're not going to need supplementation. So that it's more about can they get it from their food? And then if they can't, it's just learning and ensuring that the safety studies like that specific supplement has been assessed for young children and has been by an external third independent party agrees that it's safe is what's really, really important. We're even learning that, there are supplements that, go on the market and that say they have X, Y, and Z, and they don't. Like, they just flat out don't even have what's in the supplement, which is shocking for me, Brittany, because we're starting to test the market and say so the
Yeah.
expectation. So this has just been mind blowing to me. So now I'm just even to the point where like with supplements, you just really need to be sure whether for infants or even young toddlers and for yourself to ensure that what you're buying that it actually has what it says
Yeah.
it has in it. It's shocking.
But, like, how can they get away with that? Like, that's just straight up lying.
Yeah, I don't know. So we're helping to take ownership of some of that and,
Yeah.
testing products that, that are trying to make similar claims as us, and then you
Yeah.
find that there's
Yeah.
just nothing in there. So, you know
Is there, like, a seal or, a stamp of approval that you would recommend listeners look for? Because, like, how would the average person test something? We don't have that type of, access to things like that.
Yeah, exactly. The best way is to go to the source of the the people who are making the supplement, reaching out to them and asking how do you confirm that each and every lot, right, has the ingredients that you say it has. And it should be that they have an independent third party measures, assesses there. And so for Fatty 15, we do every single lot gets third party tested.
Wow.
So you're guaranteed to
Yeah.
have that what you're putting in your body is exactly what we have in the label, and we hold all of the pieces of the pipeline of getting Fatty 15 to people are all held to that high standard. So it was disappointing to learn that that's not the
Yeah.
given, but that's the best way is to be able to ask, are you third party tested for your ingredients?
Yeah. And for those who, haven't tried C15 before or understand, where do you derive your C15 from for Fatty
Right.
15?
So the natural source for C15, where we used to get it, and our primary source in the diet today, still by far, is dairy fat. So whole dairy fat has C15. About 1% of milk fat is C15. So, which is such a tiny amount, but
Mhm.
that is our primary source of C15 from the diet.
Wow.
When we made this discovery we had, talked about before about the importance of C15 and healthy aging, starting at the earliest starting at the embryo. While I was caring for Navy dolphins who were getting
Mhm.
older, right? And so the dolphins were getting C15 from certain types of fish. So those are the for dolphins, because they eat the heads and the skin of the fish, which have lots of C15. That's how they're getting theirs. Ours is dairy fat. The Navy funded us, Office of Naval Research funded us to develop a pure C15 ingredient that didn't have to compete with all the other like pro-inflammatory fatty acids present in dairy fat, or the unpredictability. Like, for example, we know that cows fed grass have twice as much C15 than cows that are fed corn in their milk. So to help answer for the unknown, Office of Naval Research said, "Gosh, Steph and Eric, can you develop a pure C15 ingredient that's a free fatty acid, 100% bioavailable form?" And while we were at it, we figured let's make it vegan friendly too. So the two sources I talked about, fish and dairy fat, are obviously not vegan. Those are animal sources. It's not very efficient either because there's so little C15 in there. So ours is a plant-based C14. So C14 is readily available in plants, and we add a carbon onto it, and that is C15. Yeah. So we were initially developing this as a drug. Yeah. So it was like the highest standard molecule, and pure, 99% plus pure, preparing it for pharmaceutical uses. And we transitioned it to, once we realized it met the criteria of an essential fatty acid, our advisor said, "You have a moral obligation to bring this nutrient to the world, not as a prescription drug, but as an ingredient." So we kept the same molecule, Brittany. We
Cool.
didn't change it. We could have put butter in a capsule and called it a C15 supplement. But we didn't, where it's
Yeah.
just stuck with the same. So, yeah. So it's,
Nice.
all these great studies that have been done on C15 are with that exact same
Wow.
molecule, which is really nice.
Right. So you take the C14 and then you add the carbon and then you're making C15. And then I'm sure you've obviously tested someone's C15 levels before and after taking your supplement.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of studies have been done, and now specifically on taking this pure ingredient, there are actually extensive clinical trials done in looking at different ages, males versus females, children versus adults, and showing robust studies showing that for every 100 milligrams of this pure C15 ingredient, your levels go up by 10 micromolars. So it's very reliable and 100% bioavailable.
Mhm.
There's some variation in people, but remarkably little. And it appears there's not a genetic driver for that helps to dictate, you know,
Hmm.
bioavailable, and which is really rare. And it really speaks to the fact if it's essential, it means everybody needs it. So you would have less gene
Yeah.
driven, effects on whether it works or
Huh. Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Um, when you talk about brain health and like like it being supportive for baby's brain health specifically, both when mom is pregnant and then, if you give it to your toddler or whatnot. When we talk about brain health in that capacity, what does that actually mean? Like, what does that look like? Because obviously we can talk about longevity when they're older, maybe even memory, but like, how does that apply when we're talking about a baby?
Right, it's a great question. So, as we're developing our brain, we have all the different parts of our body. The part of our body that is some of the most heavily dependent on healthy lipids or fats is the brain. And so we're learning the importance of fatty acids in general for brain development. We've known about DHA, right, for a long time, which is one of the omega 3s critical for brain health. It's what, DHA being put into infant formula was a huge movement to help improve baby's health. So this is now another fatty acid, a different type, and
Mm.
this, a DHA is a polyunsaturated omega-3 fatty acid. C15 is an odd chain saturated fatty acid. So different types, but both playing, C15 emerging as really playing a key role in neural development. There's a really neat study done in worms. And when baby worms are born, if they're deprived of all nutrients, they don't die, they just go into a hibernating state.
Mm.
And so that provides an opportunity to what these researchers then did is then gave exposed these baby worms to they took away all the nutrients, so carbs, proteins, fatty acids, lipids, everything, And then they started giving the baby worms, exposing the baby worms to single nutrients with
Oh,
nothing else. Pretty cool, right? To say,
oh,
like, what's actually essential. And so, what the study showed when they gave them just C15, absent of any other nutrient, that the babies came out of hibernation, and then they specifically tracked their neural development and showed
mm,
that their neural development, was normal, absent of any other nutrient.
wow.
So it's pretty mind-blowing, that you like, I'm even surprised that you could take away all the other components, and still have C15 do the heavy lifting, for that part of development. So it does speak to, in multiple models,
Mhm,
that it plays a role in development of the neurons,
mm,
which, we've long known it, just like DHA, an important role in neural development. And it appears like overall cognitive health in human studies, for kids, as well as, specifically language, ability. Their language cognition scores are higher if they had more
mhm.
C15 from mom.
From, during pregnancy.
That's right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just thinking again about my son and, like, just about my listeners and a big thing that people are talking about is cognitive behavioral issues with kids and learning issues. And I just wonder what role a nutrient like this could play in something like that. And we might not have that specific study of like, take this and the kid acts differently in this way. But maybe if we connect the dots in a more roundabout way, it actually will help those children who might be struggling with that.
Yeah, that's, I mean, the hope, right, is that way. It's not a one thing, one ingredient fixes everything. But, a
Yeah.
big question, as we've been pursuing is knowing that our C15 levels have been declining because our decreased intake of cow's milk. And, when your son turns 2, you'll be told by your pediatrician, it's time to take him off of whole fat milk and time to move him on to lower non-fat milk. And so we've had, generations born into a world in which it's been recommended to take down, the bad fats, but C15 went down along with that. So the question is, if you're born into a relatively C15 deficient world, is that contributing to some of the increased issues we're seeing in younger adults, and now even translating to kids, not just cognitive, and mood, conditions, but also things like hypertension, is
Yeah.
now, shockingly high in kids independent of body weight, right? So we're just seeing this rise, and then when you look at people in their, 30s, a rise in colorectal cancer, a rise in type 2
Mhm.
diabetes, a rise in fatty liver disease, and coronary heart disease. It's like, what is going on? And so we're trying to see if fixing C15 deficiencies can help fix part of, this problem, and if it could even have a little bit to be able to benefit, and then to get them at the earliest stages, that would be great. So yeah, brain and mood disorder, has been an increasing focus for the C15
Yeah.
research.
This episode is brought to you by Optimize Her, my women's biohacking retreat in Costa Rica, happening March 2nd to 7th, 2026. I am so excited, guys. This isn't just another yoga retreat, it's a 5-night, 6-day, science backed health optimization woven into feminine restoration, designed specifically for women's bodies. We'll dive into functional medicine and longevity tools, experience healing sessions like sound baths and cacao ceremonies, and recalibrate with daily movement, spa rituals, and farm to table meals that support hormones, gut health, and vitality. It's not about fixing, it's about clearing the noise so you can actually tune into your body again. If you're ready for deep restoration and transformation, you can explore all the details in the show notes. And I would absolutely love to see you in Costa Rica. Very cool. Very cool. And how does it play a role necessarily with the other omegas? Like, should I also be giving my son? I think I have a what brand is it? It's like a cod liver. I think it's
Oh
dry.
yeah.
Baby DHA, whatever. It's a droplet. Now I add it to smoothies. Um, are both important, or do you think fatty 15 could or C15 could really just be enough?
They're both important, and so
Okay.
it's almost like we discovered thanks to the dolphins, it would be like we discovered vitamin E, we wouldn't say stop taking vitamin A,
Right.
especially in our youngest. So it's more like, oh great, we wonderful, we found a new thing that we've been actively taking out of our diets, right? Of C15 that we need to get back in, and then at the same time making sure that these other important fatty acids, especially DHA, right, are getting incorporated and included in their diet. So you're doing all the right things, Brittany.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, it's just interesting. I obviously think about these things quite a lot. As a nutritionist and biohacker and whatnot. I also just wonder if like years from now, because he would have had fatty 15 during pregnancy and his whole life, like I wonder what type of adult he's going to be, because do we even have anyone who's been on C15 for that long?
Yeah, I mean, our best proxy is going back to, 1977 is when Congress released the recommendations for all Americans to decrease their intake of all saturated fats,
Right.
right? So our best proxy is looking to periods before that, and when we didn't see these issues, like the prevalence of type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease didn't even exist back then and now present in 1 in 10 kids, 1 in 3 people globally. Like, here's a disease that came out of nowhere. We have hypertension, we have, again, like this increase in colorectal cancer and other types of cancers in young adults, and these are all things we didn't have, right? And it's, back then. So I think it's almost, and we now know, right, that C15, its core role, it's a stable fatty acid that has no double bonds, which means it's not susceptible to attack by oxygen
Hmm.
and therefore doesn't undergo lipid peroxidation, what we know as rancidity, right, when oxygen and fats mix. So this actually protects our cell membranes against lipid peroxidation. It keeps them stronger for longer, which is how it helps enable longevity in mammals. So now we're understanding the importance of that from the earliest stages, and then, so we were protected, and so levels now, with when we know that when we get lower C15 levels, it causes a new for our cell membranes become fragile. It causes a new form of cell death called ferroptosis, which was discovered back in 2012 by Columbia University. It's an entirely new way our cells are dying, and it's accelerating aging. Nobody, 10,000 papers have been written about ferroptosis. We know it accelerates aging. We know it accelerates the onset of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, fatty liver disease. What nobody knew is, where did this new form of cell death even come from? And that's where the dolphins helped us answer. It's C15 deficiencies cause ferroptosis, and every component of it is fixable by putting C15 back into our system. So, kind of your question is, what was life before
Mhm.
ferroptosis? Where we had this form of cell death,
Mhm.
that was, pre-1970s. But now the question is, now we have this optimized, thanks to the Navy, right? We have this optimized C15 supplementation that, gosh, the goal is provide optimal levels of
Mhm.
this nutrient. And yeah, see how super smart we can get our kiddos.
Yeah,
Smarter
exactly.
than me, I know my kid will be, is.
Yeah.
So.
I think I heard a stat, and now I don't know if you know it, but I think it 1 in 2 people will get dementia in their life? Like, that's the point that we're at?
It very well could be. Yeah. And it's we see this recurring trend where if you're 50 and older, which is me, you're actually in pretty good shape. Like, the incidence of cancer, a lot of types of cancers, of, heart disease, they're going down. But
Oh.
it's people who are 45 years and younger that we're seeing this alarming rise in aging-associated diseases, including early onset dementias are on the rise among 45-year and younger. So it's just, again, we're just getting to, like, like, is this, and then those of us who are in our 50s, we had whole dairy fat, growing up. So
Mhm.
it's that transition point of, did we start again creating these, C15 deficient generations that are contributing to, this new form of cell death and then the subsequent, outcomes of it. So the good news of a deficiency is that it's fixable, but And so that's why we're glad that the world has really turned on and doing all the research. Now I just get to go look up and see what's the latest study that
Yeah,
just came
yeah,
out about C15, which is awesome.
yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Is there another C15, well, I guess not another C15, another essential fatty acid that could come out of the woodworks and us be like, oh, we're actually depleted in that one as well. Let's add that in. Like, what about C20, C18, like all of these different ones? How does that all kind of fit together?
It it's almost inevitable in my mind. It's almost like, when you hear about once we realize about life and other planets and how huge this universe is, the likelihood that we're the only life in the universe gets down to being very small, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of that same situation where there's no way, like, there are only 3 known essential fatty acids, right? And the first 2, linoleic and alpha-linolenic acid, which are an omega-6 and an omega-3 fatty acid, they were discovered by Dr. George and Mildred Burr back in 1929 and 1930. So
Uh,
I just can't believe that the technology was like we're at the top of our game, and that's also when we discovered, the world discovered vitamin A, B, C, D, and E. So Dr. Burr
hmm,
actually discovered vitamin E, and then that then
uh,
resulted in him discovering the essential fatty acids. So there's just no way that technology was like, "Yep, that was the best we had, and we were done finding essential nutrients." We found this again thanks to dolphins, but we're also able to use advanced metabolomics, right? So to be able to use this advanced technology to study thousands of small molecules
mhm,
to look for the ones that met the criteria of essentiality. So long way to answer your question, Brady, there's just the technology is here now that's going to
mhm,
allow us. I just feel like it's the beginning of a whole new renaissance of understanding what nutrients like we really need, and our blood panels will be more than just, when you go to the
mhm.
doctor, you get but already it's happening, right? That you can
Yeah,
go to specific doctors and healthcare providers, and you just get a much more robust panel
yeah,
just figuring out, let's make sure that it's all usable, right?
yeah,
So it's like there's so much data, it's like, I don't know what to do with it, but
yeah.
increase we're gonna be able to learn how to use it.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the amount of at-home tests I've done, even the microbiome, and I'm like, "Wow, okay, I have all of these species, what does this mean?" Um,
Right.
yeah, I is there a test coming from you guys for
There is
C15?
so the good thing about C15, it's been used for a long time
Mhm.
by nutritionists to measure. It was used as a biomarker for how much dairy fat people ate,
Mm,
and it was actually used to if, let's say, you're doing a clinical trial on milk fat, it was a way to actually see if people ate what they were supposed to
ah,
eat. Make sure they weren't, like, lying.
yeah,
So it's that reliable of a biomarker, and so the good part of that is that means that there's been tests the methodology for measuring C15 in our blood, our serum, our plasma, our red blood cells is well established.
cool.
So the test methodology is there. Most increasing number of doctors, if you ask for a fatty acid panel, they need to check, but more and more it's including C15
Mm,
in that panel. So there's some people who've gone back like, "Oh, wait, I got a fatty acid panel." And they go back and they're like, "Oh my gosh, C15 is there." And, "Oh my gosh, they're really low." So
wow,
there's
cool.
a bunch of people who are fine. Dr. Hyman, had that. So he would basically go, "Oh my gosh, I've been measuring C15 in my patients, like, this whole time." And he's like, "I'm shocked to see how many people had extraordinarily low levels of C15."
Wow.
We're just looking at and then we also work with Genova Diagnostics to develop a at-home, blood spot test, so
Cool.
that's available as well, so lots of
Mm,
options. Yeah.
okay. I want the at-home one because
Oh,
I
we'll send
yeah.
you one.
I
Okay,
haven't
that's
had my levels tested, and I'm so curious. And I also wanna test my son.
yeah.
Could I test him too somehow, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's a blood spot test, so
Mhm.
it's up to how many tears you want. Maybe babies are better than us sometimes, right? They're
Yeah,
like, "Oh, whatever."
yeah.
Mm,
Uh,
but yeah, I mean, it's the same it would hold the same test would
yeah.
hold.
Yeah. You talked a lot about, animal milk fat, and I've kind of been going through different types of milk when I've been trying to figure out what do I give my son? How do I add it? How much versus breast milk? All these things. And I've been trying different ones, and I've tried water buffalo milk, which is
Oh, that's a good one.
8% milk fat, by the way. I did not know that when I bought it. Holy, like, you should see my coffee. It looks like I put butter in there. There was, like, little like, you know how, like, all the molecules go together and it looks like butter and it's, like, melted? I was shook. And then I got, goat milk, and goat milk is, like, 3.3, I think. And then I also obviously have cow, grass-fed cow, and I think it's, like, 3.4 or something. Um, out of those 3, like, if we were just to look at those 3, what would you say is the most nutrient dense and would probably have the most C15?
Yeah, the buffalo milk it's gotten really interesting and, a lot of attention. With regard to, and then, of course, it's whole fat, right, across all 3,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
gotta get the whole fat, or you're missing out on a lot as soon as you start removing the especially for our youngest kids.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about all mammals drink milk at birth,
Mhm.
so it's not like, puppies ask for non-fat non-fat milk from mom. Like, milk is nature's perfect food for developing
Yeah.
for our youngest developing, so that it's gotta be whole, um, uh, for babies who can tolerate it. Because I appreciate that there are, a good handful that have difficulties with it. But with regard to C15, it's more driven by what that animal was fed. So,
Mm.
if you could take a goat, a buffalo, or sounds like a beginning of a joke, a goat, buffalo, or cow, and you could give it, if you fed them all grass, they would all have higher C15 levels.
Okay.
And then if you feed them grass from high altitudes, which has only been done in a few studies, they'll have even higher C15 levels.
Okay.
So it's more about what they're being fed that
Mm.
dictates what's specific to C15. I don't want to overspeak and say
Right.
that that's true for
Right.
all nutrients, but I
Yeah.
am a fan of the buffalo milk.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so it's hard. So I don't have access to a lot where I'm living right now, and I have, like, organic goat or grass-fed cow, but it's not organic grass-fed cow. So then I'm just like, "Okay, which one is the better choice here?" And I think the water buffalo is actually grass-fed, but I don't think it's organic.
Yeah, and you actually bring up a really good point. There was a study done looking at C15 levels in mom at during pregnancy, and it showed a couple of actually these were different studies, but one study showed that I think we talked about this before that the more mom exercised, the higher her C15 levels, and the hypothesis is because you have C15 stored in your tissues, and as you exercise, the C15 it releases the C15
Mm.
goes up. There's another study showing eating organic foods, those women had higher C15 levels. They couldn't so I thought, "Oh, are they more likely?" And it didn't look like it was driven necessarily purely by dairy. So, I don't know if it was food choices, but it was an interesting correlation between choosing organic foods and higher C15.
Yeah. I almost feel like for this case, the grass-fed might make more sense.
It's a more of a direct line, for
Yeah.
specific for C15, of course.
Yes. Yeah, for milk, for C15. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, it's hard. Like, I would love organic grass-fed A2 cows. I'm sure you know what that is, like the different type of cows. High altitude, the healthiest
I know, we
in
need
the world.
all. We need it all. I know, I found a great, yogurt
Mm.
that is A2 whole, and from grass-fed cows, and it's delicious. So and that's the other thing, it's like, it tastes good. Like,
Yeah.
milks are yummy. Like, these dairy
Mhm.
products are really delicious, and when you
Mhm.
I try to go back to, like the other one, they just doesn't taste as good.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there's that too.
So even if the water buffalo milk has 8% fat in it, will it have about the same amount of C15 versus the cow and versus the goat milk?
I would say proportionally, it probably has close to the same, which is, this 1 to 3%. However, because it has more fat in it, you're going to get twice as much C15 overall. So,
Right. Okay.
just the fact that you should get a higher dose of
Right.
C15 per serving just because, like, I mean, 8%, holy moly.
Yeah. I know.
That's a good dose.
It was a lot. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure it's the same thing with yogurt. Like, would it be the same thing with yogurt and like even kefir? Like the C15 levels in that, and even cheese?
Yep, cheese is good and hard cheeses. So, like, pecorino cheese has some of the highest C15 levels among all dairy products. So it's kinda like the more concentrated the fat and the more you take out the other stuff.
Interesting.
And again, and pecorino comes from sheep,
Yeah.
and they're grass-fed sheep, specifically from Sardinia. So it's all the right
Um,
combinations that results in pecorino being a really good C15 source.
yeah. Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, we're going south for a bunch of months, a few months this winter, and one of the places we're going is Nicaragua, and there you buy the milk in the stores that's literally from the cows within whatever kilometer radius, and you see the cows when you're actually driving, and they're all outside just chilling, eating the grass, like, it's like, "Wow, this is how we used to all be at one point," you know?
That's right, and, like, studies showed that women in Australia have some of the highest C15 levels in their milk, in their breast milk, and that is directly associated with a lot of the milks and meats in Australia come from grass-fed, cows. So they're just getting a constant, really nice source of C15, and that
Yeah,
translates to
yeah.
really rich C15 breast milk, and in other countries, like in Asian countries, it could be, really low, just because
Mm.
there's less, dairy fat,
Mhm.
eaten. It's more from fish-based sources, and less people in the new generations are eating, like, heads and skin of fish. So
Yeah.
their C15 source has been going down pretty dramatically as well.
Yeah. And what role would almond milk, oat milk, soy milk, all of those play for children? Like, when we went to the one-year checkup, which is the only checkup we did with our doctor, he was like, "Oh, yeah, like, your baby's ready for, like, alternative milk," and he listed those off, and I was like, absolutely not." It's like, "No way. I'm not giving my kids soy. Are you out of your mind?"
Like, "Oh, you need a nutritionist, you need me. That's what you need to be like." You're like, "I'm gonna give you a free consult."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, no, I mean, they don't they don't have the plant-based milks, they serve a role in a lot of people's lives. It's tough
mhm.
to argue for kids, because again, just as a veterinarian, right, you just lean on how does the rest of the mammal world work?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, the dairy fats are really, really important for when they can be tolerated, and quality,
Mhm.
just we're always pushing on the industry raise the bar and share your C15 levels in your product. I'll choose the one with the highest C15, for me and my kids. So, but yeah, so the plant-based milks don't have any C15 in it. So
Mhm.
from that perspective, they're nutritionally lacking
Mhm.
uh, that that fatty acid.
Right. But, like, technically, you could, like, fortify a milk with C15.
You could, yeah,
Hmm.
yep. Stay tuned.
Oh, man. Really? I
We'll
wonder.
call it the Brittany Ford line.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's a good idea, but I don't love the idea of, like, adding single nutrients. I think the whole food, if we can do it, and it's like we talked about, like, grass-fed, as nutrient dense as possible, I think that's way better for us, when we have access to it and can
It
tolerate it.
is. Exactly, and so it's especially during certain periods of our life, and, so it's like
Mhm.
just following where does nature put milk, and it puts it
Yeah.
very specifically in our earliest. I love my dairies, and I have dairy food every day. So I don't shy away from it. But I also, there was a group that met in Denmark back in 2017, a group of nutritionists focus on dairy fat and specific nutrients within it. And their big question was, why do specific nutrients within dairy fat do so well individually, but once you mix them with everything else in what they call the whole food matrix, they get diluted? And it's just there's 400 fatty acids in dairy fat, and it's very diverse, right? It could be low fat, it could be non-fat, it could be cheese, it could be so there's just a lot of diversity, and so I think that's why dairy fat in some cases is the exception versus the rule where an individual nutrient, and that's why opposite naval research said let's bring C15 to the forefront to increase options. So it's exactly like what you're saying, Brittany, where it's a supplement, so it's meant to supplement what
Yeah.
we aren't getting from our diet. And so, yeah, it's good that there's something that can play that role of truly supplementing above and beyond, what we're able to get from our diets. But starting from our diets is, I start there too. I have my dairy fats. I definitely
Yeah.
have that as my base.
That's awesome. Yeah, if you can. Yeah, and, like, I took the C15, oh my gosh, I think I took it during fertility. Yeah. Fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, I still take it, and it's just part of something that I think is essential. And I mean, it is essential, but just to make sure that I'm covering all my bases if I'm not getting enough dairy fat. And especially when I was pregnant and, like, there was a lot of things I couldn't stomach at different times. Like, you wanna make sure you're getting those nutrients through a supplement so you're, kinda keeping all of your levels up.
Yeah, exactly, and you've gone through the whole journey of now the science is catching up with you, right? Where it's finding the more
Yeah.
C15 that right, the ovaries that have higher C15 are less likely to have diminished ovarian reserve.
Mm.
Embryos that are exposed to follicular fluid with higher C15 have faster growth, and there's better IVF outcomes. And then from the embryo on up, then we've already talked about the, fetus and the neonate and the pregnancy, like, it really is, checking all the boxes of essentiality, and you've had it on your
Mm.
whole journey, which
Yeah.
is pretty neat.
Yeah, I feel pretty lucky, yeah. Um, I saw an email from you guys from your newsletter, and it said you got voted the number 1 supplement on some sort of crazy list. Can you please shout that out?
Oh my goodness. So, yeah, I blush about it. So Inc. 5000 comes out with a list every year of the fastest growing private companies. So this is talking about, private companies and innovation and where's America at? And so they take the top 5,000 fastest growing companies and they measure it over a 3-year period. So this was 2021 to 2024. So we had gotten notice that we had made the list and we're like, this is awesome. And then they announced like where you rank on the list. And that's where we just found out, gosh, it was maybe just a week and a half or go, that we're the fifth fastest growing consumer supplement company in America, like, not just
Wow.
supplements, but and then the number 1 fastest growing supplement company in America. Like, go science, I'll pass that on to the Navy and dolphins, but
Incredible.
science works. It just, we were gifted with this incredible discovery, Brittany, and it
Wow.
ended up being incredibly meaningful. The world is proving it out, and our customers are, our
Yeah.
retention rate is extraordinarily high, and
Is it?
it's 95% monthly retention rate, which is almost unheard of in supplements, and it's people feel better, they feel the benefits, they,
Yeah.
are seeing the science and easy to
Wow.
take, and so all of the things, which
Yeah.
right, so we're
How
very proud.
how big is your I don't know if you know the number, but, like, how many customers are you guys reaching now? Like, where are you in the
Yeah, so we have over 100,000 active, customers right now, which is amazing, and growing, and this is just with one you know,
Yeah.
ingredient and one fatty 15
Yeah.
sold, direct to consumer. So we just started expanding to Amazon, but we'll be moving to retail and then expanding obviously our product lines, but, and just as importantly, we've spun out an ingredient business, so that'll be announced soon, formally, but that's so we can help get C15 into the food supply, so we can
Wow.
increase truly accessibility to the world, through fortifying foods, beverages, just like you were saying, and
Yeah.
infant formulas. So that's the next exciting step for
Amazing.
Save the Dolphin, Save the World campaign.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so exciting. Yeah, I just remembered it, like, talking to you guys, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, and I was like, "This is so cool." And it just felt
Thank
like
you.
I felt like such an early adopter, you know? I was like, "Oh, there's this thing." And now here you are, top of the list. That's amazing.
You get all the credit. You could say you've got the BF factor. And if you see something, you gotta pay attention. You gotta pay attention if Brittany sees something
Yeah.
because
Oh, that's funny.
you knew it from the earliest days. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
And if you start working with baby formula, I don't know if you know Serenity Kids.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, they are. I know like Ben Greenfield's an investor in them, and like they're kind of like the biohacker approved baby formula company. Um, and they do like pouches and like I've tried their stuff and it's amazing. Like there's
Oh,
nothing
that's
else
great.
that compares to the type of products that they make. So hopefully you guys can work something out because like you could definitely be added to their formula.
We will definitely be reaching out to them. Thanks
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, no worries. Well, this has been amazing to have you on the show again. If people want to order C15 from you, how do they do that and how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so they can go to fatty15.com, and that's where we reside. You can learn more about the supplement, the science, all the science we were talking about, Brittany's at discoverc15.com. And so as these new papers get published, we put them up there. So they're broken down by categories. If you go to the resources page, there's a whole category dedicated to pregnancy, infant, and childhood health. So you can read all the papers that we just talked about on here, there. And
Cool.
I'm old, so I'm on LinkedIn. So if you want to reach out to me and say hi, it's either that or knock on the door and we'll shake hands and get some coffee. Yeah,
Do you have like a pager apparently for a thing?
I got no. No, I've got a BlackBerry.
Oh, your
Like
BlackBerry. Oh,
way
I had a
beyond that, Brittany.
BlackBerry.
It's a flip. It's a
It's a
flip one.
flip. Oh, that's hilarious. That's awesome. There are people on LinkedIn. Yes, of course. That's funny. Okay. I will put everything in the show notes so everyone can find you easily. Thank you so much for coming on the show again. This was amazing. And I will continue to be one of your 100,000 people who use your product.
Oh, thanks, Brittany. It's always a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you for listening to Biohacking with Brittany. I hope today's conversation gave you something to take into your own life, a practice, a perspective, or simply a reminder to trust your body. If you love this episode, please leave a review, share it with someone else who could benefit, and join me over on Instagram at BiohackingBrittany for more. And if you're ready to go deeper, you can explore my retreats, community, favorite tools, all linked for you in the show notes. Until next time, remember, your body already knows.